Now to breaking news in the case against Michael Cohen, the president's longtime and now former personal attorney. On Friday, we learned that Cohen secretly recorded Trump shortly before the 2016 presidential election, talking about buying the rights to the story of a former Playboy model who alleges that she had an affair with Trump. Now NBC News has confirmed there are more audio tapes, at least 12 of them, and they are now in the hands of federal investigators. We should note, it is not clear whether all 12 tapes have Trump on them. NBC News investigations reporter Tom Winter is here with the breaking details. Tom.
So, Ali, in a court filing just moments ago from the special master who's tasked with reviewing all of the evidence that was taken from Michael Cohen in the search warrants, she says that there were 12 audio tapes that were previously marked privileged by the parties in the case. That could either be Michael Cohen, that could be the president, or that could be the Trump organization. And she says that those 12 audio tapes were still under consideration by her, meaning that she hadn't determined, that's the way, that's what I'm taking this document to read, she hadn't yet determined whether or not they would ultimately remain privileged. It would stay out of federal investigators' hands. Now she says, in fact, the parties that were involved said, you know what, we've got no privilege designation here, and so they've already been turned over to the government. They were turned over to the government late on Friday, according to this court filing. So now federal investigators, the FBI and prosecutors in the Southern District of New York will have access to these tapes to be able to listen to them themselves and decide whether or not it has any value in a potential criminal case.
Is that a Michael Cohen thing? Is that a Trump and his lawyers? Who gets to say we don't want to assert privilege over
Really good question. It depends on who's on those tapes. So as you said before, we want to be clear, we're not sure whether it's just one tape or whether all 12 may have the president's voice on them. If it's the president, as an example, it's the president's privilege in this case. The privilege does not lie with Michael Cohen. Since the president is the client, the president can make the determination, you know what? Actually, those are privileged communications. Now, again, the special master, she's kind of like the referee in all this. She can decide whether or not, well, I agree with you on that. That is privileged communications, or no, it's actually, you know, pursuant to the warrant, this is something that can be turned over to government investigators. So she's the one that kind of makes that determination. Other people that could have made a determination there, whether it was somebody in the Trump organization who's also been able to look at this, and there might be instances where Michael Cohen, depending upon again who he's talking to, if he's talking to his own attorneys, if he has his own counsel, that might be, those tapes might be something.
So we know there are more tapes. We know the government has them.
Exactly.
We don't know who or what is on those.
We don't know who or what is on those tapes, but we know that 12 tapes that previously federal investigators didn't have, they now have, and that explains why when we're all kind of calling around to law enforcement folks for clarity on Friday, everybody said we don't know what you're talking about once that story hit. So
you can't make this up.
Kind of an evolution in this story as it continues to move forward.
Well, for what it's worth, when Tom's not sitting here reporting to us, he sits right there within eyesight of me, and you can always tell when he gets animated and things start happening that there's something to report on. We'll see you soon. Thanks, Tom. Yeah.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.